What is going on, everybody? I'm DJ Av, and I am mixing a beat.
Trap Tendo.
So this is a track that DJ Manny Starks sent me that he wanted mixed or whatnot, and I just wanted to show him and all the viewers alike how this process works. What I will do is I will take away some of the stuff that I had already added to the track, so it'll be playing from its original that he had sent to me in its original state. So I'm going to go ahead and reset everything here and go ahead and save, and I'm going to play the track, and we'll spot things out and we'll discuss the basics, the essential things that must be done in a mix.
Calle.
So I just want to play it a little bit because we're gonna be going hand in hand and doing a lot of things to it, and I just noticed that I had two tracks muted, so I do apologize there. You will hear them as they go past, but the first thing is first. You notice that the track itself is pretty good. I really do like the track. I really like the chill vibe that it has. He says like a Gucci Mane production template or something. I don't know, but we're gonna go from there. The first things first, things that have to be adjusted is this, which is the beat tag itself. The beat tag itself was a little too loud, and a lot of things you can make great assumptions off of this right here just by muting certain things and bring your attention to the oscilloscope. The oscilloscope is a tell-all book. When you are mixing a track in FL Studio or even in any other DAWs that you have out in the market, if they have a oscilloscope, I would definitely use that as a reference. And here, we're just going to start from there. I'm going to press play. So that is quite it's okay. Now, I'm going to go and I'm going to unmute the beat tag because the beat tag was quite loud. And let me just reset that so y'all actually see why I turned it down. See, the whole entire base root of what you want your oscilloscope, which is like, depending on how your oscilloscopes are set up within your DAW or whatever in FL Studio, they're always about the same within those options. If you can set up the spectrogram or whatever. I highly recommend the oscilloscope though. Is that you want all your levels to be right. And when leveling is the biggest part of a mix, because that's how your beat's gonna sit without any color or any effect for that matter. So playing it, which is quite fine. I'm fine with the way it's moving now. But it's going to be a problem coming up right here. As you can see, that's a telltale sign that you need to turn down your tag, because that tag is a little too loud. At least in my opinion. Some people might prefer their tag to be that loud, but since you hired me, I'm just turning it down.
Calle.
it needs to be turned down a little bit more. I really like the vibe. I really like the vibe of this track. The track itself has a pretty damn good vibe. Another thing I want to note when you guys are making tracks, so you have all of your effects here. I know this is really cool. It's a really cool thing to use the master bus to edit, you know, in your effects, like your filters and stuff like that. He used the Fruity Love filter to give that kind of what we have grown to known as the OVO type feel or whatever. But you know, when you do stuff like this, and you are perhaps like trying to take it to a bigger studio, bigger than, you know, my studio at the house, you're gonna end up tracking the beat out. And once you track the beat out and you have all your stuff and all your gross beats and all that stuff on one particular channel, your master channel, what's gonna happen is you're gonna be, your effects and stuff is only going to transfer to that one master track. It's not going to transfer to all your 15 tracks or how many tracks you want to use it on. So that effect will not be in the final track. So what you're going to end up having to do, and what you should do, is, this is a quick tip here. You know, if you have one, it'll shorten up. Save preset as, and double left click on it. And, you know, just drag and drop in the many channels it is, and you're gonna, I know it's quite one of those things that are annoying and tedious to do, but you know, you don't have to necessarily do that first when you're making your track. Which brings me to another point when you're making a track or whatnot, is, you know, make your beat. And even I had to realize this: make your beat first, you know, lay the beat out, then work on your hardcore mixing and your elements and leveling stuff. Then after that, lay your effects out. And then after that, you know, finish it off and, you know, lay your master bus or whatever, which you can save your master bus just by going to file and saving a mixed track state as, and then load up everything that's within that state. And then, you know, that's the hardcore stuff about doing things in here. This is a very colorful project. I really like how colorful it is. The colors, you can see he has all his automation right there. So with that being said, you know, let's get into the more the tedious part and the cool part of what I like. Then that's the mixing. Snare's too low. So, you know, let's go into this part right here, and I'm gonna make sure I highlight that area so we're not getting too much of we're gonna focus on that. So like I was saying about the oscilloscope here, the oscilloscope is a telltale sign of like how your track is gonna be balanced and how it's gonna sit like anywhere basically. So you want to pay close attention to this right here. As you see now, I had the snare is loud enough in the mix to where it's going to cut through the melody. And if I was to play like the melody at this instant, now you can hear the snare, and you know that's one of the key things here. And also, what I did, instead of I did turn up the volume, but I gave it a resonance peak notch bell, so that the snare will be more in the center, because your mid frequencies have a tendency to be your strongest signal within your song or your mix. So that will give it enough edge and room so you can hear that element in the track, depending on what your different melodies are made up out of, which will usually sit in the middle and on the sides because of the different frequencies, and the transients have different textures. So keep that in mind here. I'm gonna give this perk its own separate room. I'm gonna pan it to the right so it can be heard a lot more over the snare without having to turn it all the way up. That kind of helps. I don't know what perk 1 is, but I'm gonna go ahead and just venture that to the left and venture this to the left as well, so that it has its own specific character as well. The open hats aren't too loud. I can go ahead and investigate that a little bit more. Yeah, see, they're cut in between the melody and whatnot. So that's a good fix that. But what I do want to do to this melody right here is adjust it down. And the reason why I turned down this pad is because, one, you can hear it kind of burning. That being the fact that it has a little bit of resonance in the filter that was picked out for this pad for its overall sound. That it will have that effect regardless. But you want your melodies to be balanced about the same. There's certain elements you might change and give it a little bit more presence. This has this melody right here, melody 2, does have a little bit of panning, and which you can see within this being represented within this channel visually. But panning it to the left will give it a little bit of its own presence, so that you will have a good element to work with within the balance. And you can pay attention to that. Sometimes, in the old school, you don't have all these visual cues, but now that we're in 2016, you can take full advantage of it and make some meaning of it. It's a little aggressive. And I haven't did anything to Iron Pusher yet, but I might do a few things like changing where the 808 is boosted. Now it's wider. If I was pushing it. That's another thing. That's one thing I highly endorse about Iron Pusher, is the fact that Iron Pusher does show you like what your input is running, see if it's running too hot. But for the most part, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and use a limiter, so when I push it, it has a sense of ducking to that 808, so it's not overtaking other harmonics and causing phase cancellation or anything like that. I'm not gonna use magic because magic is irrelevant right here in your 808. As you can see, your 808 is bigger now. I don't know if that's going to be my direction, but for starters, it'll be fine if it do that. I probably might lower it. And, let's see if I can get a kick here too. Now kicks, I've talked about kicks on my channel many a times. My thing with kicks is that kicks always come with their own specific characteristic, which you can trick out the way you want it to be. My personal opinion is that I use Maximus, which isn't a stock FL Studio plugin, by the way, but it has some key things about it that I really do like about it. And let me go to default, and we're going to work it out from here. And from there, I'm going to take the elements of it and do things like this. Now, making a kick bigger isn't all that. It's not pure science or anything like that. And make sure that you engage that, because we want to use these master bands. But you definitely want to pan the low end to the center, so that way you have, so it doesn't run into any other like frequency content and cause some phase cancellation, causing that weird duck or unnecessary muddiness is what people say. That's just a buzz term or whatever. But and then use the mid, just pan out to the side a little bit. But it strengthens the signal, especially when you go on something like a PA system that might have more mono characteristics than others, versus like a theater or a that element. But it will sound good on all systems. And what I'm doing now is, as you can see, you see prominent how prominent the lows are now, and adding some mid will make the kick tougher. It will make it harder on the speakers. What I did now is I just adjusted the mids, which is another cool thing about using multi-band compressors in general. Soft that is now. That character is going up. You hear that? And if you pay attention to the oscilloscope, you see how dominant the kick is now. And it is right now it's clipping, but that's fine, because we're going to change that anyways. We're going to make many adjustments to the master bus. Right now I just wanted to use that process real quick and bring the track in. Might even make the kick louder. I mean the snare louder. So one thing, now people are going to ask me, why would you add reverb to the snare? The snare, what reverb does to any element you're doing is it brings more presence. It makes it the sound a little bit more, makes it wider. And if I was to turn it off, you see how it's in the dead center. Now the ultimate goal is not to use that much reverb, but to actually give it the sound itself a little bit more tail, so that way there's a better chance of you hearing it within the track when all the other elements go getting added in there. Turn it off. You don't want to overdo reverb in any track in general, because what ends up happening is what people call which is another buzz term, cloudy, which means that it'll be harder to hear other elements or whatnot stick out in the track. But you want every particular element that's in your beat to have its own room. It's like the balancing that I talked about in another video, like just having your mixing everything, or find a specific headroom, or if you're imagining like yourself in a living room or whatnot, and you have everything just like thrown in the middle, and it's hard for you to be able to sit and relax. So if you spread out everything and make it organized, you sit your furniture on one side and make it nice, coffee table in the middle like you want it, and your TV right where across from your sofa or your couch, you're able to relax and watch TV. That's the same thing with music, logically, what you're doing with it within your ear, or when you're making headroom or creating the headroom and leveling. So those are things that are key things. Now we're gonna bring our attention to the master bus here, because he does have a lot going on and whatnot, and I definitely appreciate him doing so. I don't know what his aim is for this track, but that's not my business. It's just to make it sound better than what it was. So I'm adding the J37, and usually what I do with the J37 is I add a specific analog characteristic that is called wow. And if you're listening to stuff on tapes, if y'all was born during the tape era, or if not, it doesn't matter. But with the tape, with the whole tape era, the tape compression, it rolls off a lot of the unlike frequency content and focus on the center, but it still gives you a stereo feel that you'll hear it as big and as loud as possible. But it creates a toughness to the track to where the presence is fully upon you. And there's certain things like the wow, like if I was to mess with wow right now, and let me fix something real quick. I might not be able to use it, not while I'm broadcasting, but this particular element or whatnot, it's not necessary for your mix, but it is pretty cool, a cool thing to do, to adding, your giving your track a flavor that many other tracks kind of lack. But there's certain things, when you're messing with the tape bias and boost 5 and stuff like that, that's infinitely affecting the loudness, to messing with the different formula tape, to where you'll get certain things trimmed off or even added that wouldn't be. So it kind of is reminiscent of a EQ per se. I wouldn't be surprised if the algorithms for this very VST was an EQ, because that's basically what tape recording on different things, like such as a tape machine, or even your DAW, which is usually sonically neutral, has a different effect. But this key effect or element that this VST is giving you is like a certain specific saturation, which we have grown to listen to. If you're older like me, I know I'm old, but it's all good. You're used to hearing the characteristic to why you will kind of argue that analog is better, or whatever the case may be, which is very subjective. Now I did use an NLS bus, but I don't know if I'm particularly sure if I'm going to finish using that, which has its own characteristic as well. Take out the J37. So we still coming in a little hot, as I look at my VU meter on my audio interface. But I haven't, yet again, I still haven't worked with IM Pusher. But the thing I just want you to notice is the different characteristics of this right here, because again, this is another type of saturation that is allegedly in these 3 different consoles, and this is the summing I'm choosing. This one is wider. The spike is rider, which I believe this is the SSL. It's an older console right here. It's the Neve. So the SSL has a punchiness to it that, you know, I don't know if I'm 100% sure I want to work with that verse over this right here, over the Abbey Road console. What I just did was I just added I am pusher real quick, and I'm gonna go ahead and detach that so it stay on the screen, because I am going to make a few adjustments that you'll notice within this input, and it will show you like what I need to roll off so it's not being so choppy or whatever. Or I can just take it down with push, because I was using push as well. I didn't notice that. And then I'll turn off magic so you can hear the track without it or whatnot. See, I'm gonna go ahead and kill that the NLS bus, the stereo bus, and we're gonna work from here. As you see, the track is a lot lighter. It's not as aggressive as it was before. Some elements are a bit out of whack here. Let me see. That's fine. Whatever. But that's cool and all. You know, I just want to do a couple of things here, but we got aggressive. So the key goal is to stay out the red, even though it's not as loud as it was before. And, you know, you could do certain things, you know, to add gain or whatever. I can take advantage of the limiter now that I have that taken care of and see if I like it or not. But if the limiter is not set right, certain things will duck as it's being limited to a certain amount of loudness to the track. It's a lot smoother. Gonna let the track ride real quick. Definitely lower right here, and the lowness in this is the other elements that's a little nutty here, as we had the love filter, which I can do like this. You know, if you're trying to mix and you don't want to deal with all that stuff, I can just mute everything. So the kick itself is still punchy, you know, represented by clipping as as the CPU goes a little ham here. But that's fine. I can do certain things. Let's get rid of that. Now I'm not working with so many different elements in terms of that, so it'd be efficient. So I'm just checking the VU like on my analog audio interface so I can see what is going that's going to be needed. A certain thing I'm going to add now is the magic or the decider. As you can see, I have a different type of overall feel here because it spread certain elements out. overall low. The overall low, I just maxed it out to see how much low end I'll get out of the track. One thing that you will notice about using IM Pusher in general is that the IM Pusher isn't as harsh as what your regular equalizer would sound like. Like if I was to use the EQ, see how harsh that is? I like how it sounds when I'm boosting the low end at D2 or 73 hertz, mainly because that now the track itself sounds a little tighter. Don't know if that's going to be my overall edge for this, but since this track has a softer sound than the usual aggressive tracks that I do on my channel or do myself or with other artists or whatnot on this channel, you know, it could very well work out because of the way how chill this track is. As you see, it's not really boosting the overall low end like if I was to go over here. I just made a conscious decision to turn down the kick because I do like how the track sits. I like how loud it is. And, you know, my main goal now is to just go for the overall dynamics of the track. So the leveling part, as I'm doing the mastering part, is really important because, you know, this is how he's gonna hear it at the end of the day if he doesn't watch this video, which I'm pretty sure he is. Shouts out to Manny Starks at that. And yeah, thank you. So let's see what we got. Now I muted the kick just to see. Turn down the hi-hats a little bit. Now, the track itself, you can see since the leveling has changed and a lot of the balance has been restored to the track, you hear that the track has a response of a richer sound, as that you can hear more of the different elements of the track, and it's not overtaken by lows or anything of that nature. So there's other things that could have great response. Along with the limiting is just making sure everything is heard. The limiting is not anything that's exceeding the certain level that is at, which is just gain reduction at this point. Is not anything plus or minus or of that nature. I just whatever I've rolled off on the input, you bring it back in with your push. so that way that the loudness will be restored however it won't be too loud and it need to be dynamically sound. So dynamic range. Now, hypothetically, if I was to add the NLS bus back in, the summing bus back in, things would change a little bit. Overall, the overall feel one, and then two, since I work with the drive a little bit, it would be louder. Those can be adjusted and just work with just the different elements that you would get from the different kind of saturation that you would get from the consoles, the different summing consoles in here. So don't forget to save. I know one of the questions people are going to ask is why don't I ever add highs? Now, I feel that the naturalness of a sound is very important, that you keep the key natural elements to a sound. I don't necessarily like to go all in, balls in on the certain EQs and certain things that I've done, though I did roll up the body or the mid a lot. But what we could do is we could preview it. Again, this is one of the reasons why for it being $30 or how much it costs now, which I'm pretty sure it'd probably be more or less $50 at most. That you preview and take certain elements out to see how your track feels without it, and see if your track can survive. Because once the consumer or the person that listens to it, wherever they're listening to it, if you're boosting like highs too much or boosting lows too much or boosting just your mids too much, which that's what body means, it's your mid, it won't sound quite as balanced on other devices or other musical peripherals, and it will have subjective sound, and the person want to turn something down. I'd rather if somebody turn up the highs themselves or turn on like certain presets that are on their device of choice versus I added in and then it sounds like shit. But yeah, we're gonna do that. I think that's fine right there. It's fine right there. You know, I'm not gonna to trouble the mix any more than it needs to be. But yeah, hopefully y'all guys got what I'm going with. Hopefully you stuck in with me. If you like this video, give it a like. If you have any comments, please leave a comment. Once again, shout outs to the people that have been asking me to mix their tracks and whatnot, and you know, just reaching out because they want their beats mixed, quote unquote, professionally, or just like my ears in general when it comes to music. So yeah, if you have any questions, please ask. And again, thank you so much. Stamp time if it'll work.
Trap Tendo.